Citations Rangers, General Bradley 101 back to you again with some more lore. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are covering another epic moment from Warhammer 40k, and a moment that truly goes to show, just cause you ain't a space marine, don't mean you can throw hands like a space marine. Because today, ladies and gentlemen, we are taking a look at the short story, Argent, from the Vaults of Terror series. And it contains one of my most favorite moments. Again, I say that for pretty much everything, but god damn it, I can't help it, I love this setting. But without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get cracking on with today's video. So as I said, this is taken from the short story Argent from the Vaults of Terror series. I think this is in between the first and the second, if I'm not mistaken. But before I can get into all the goodness properly, let me set the scene. Lo and behold, we're on the world of Forador, and it is pretty bad. The Imperial Fists are currently blowing it the fuck up. Why? Because they thought they could secede from the Imperium. Oh no. They're called Imperial Fists for a reason, and that fist do some work, son. However, the Inquisitor known as Tua is looking at this and he is very upset he's spaghetti. For the sole fact, these bastards are blowing up everything and everyone to high hell, but if you kill everybody, there's no one left to interrogate. So he decides he's gonna go down to the planet to try and reason with them, or do his own inquisitorial nonsense, whatever that may be. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we get introduced to our character here and now, the interrogator known as Lucia Spinoza. And Lucia is surprised because she's like, I thought I was supposed to get more training. I guess I'm not doing anything today. Then Tur turns around and hits her with the, you're gonna go and meet with the Imperial Fists and do your own thing, alone. For it turns out there is a chaplain by the name of Erastus together with Sergeant Karan and his 5-man assault squad. And they are doing their own purgation operation. And they are purging in the specific area where is said to contain the adjutant of the Imperial Governor, or former Imperial Governor, one Navia Severa. Tor wants her captured alive, so he can slowly kill her whilst extracting information as a byproduct. This is Lucia's first time ever on her own, and she's a little skeptical, but you know, hey, she's an inquisitorial interrogator. She's gonna get that shit done. And she's also low-key pretty excited to see Space Marines because they're Space Marines. She then comes face to face with the Space Marines, and they are just as magnificent as she all believed. Now the problem is that she needs to keep up with them because, as I said, they're Space Marines. They don't really do human in speed of thought or speed of action, but she's up to the task. It is at that point that they then mount up in their Stormraven gunship, and then they make a hard landing. And as Lucia watches, she sees Erastus in full action, and god damn it, she is feeling patriotic. Erastus, being a chaplain that he is screaming and bellowing litanies all the while smashing with his big, beautiful, ornate Crozius Arcanum. And of course the assault squad is doing assault squad things. Eventually, however, they manage to clear through the enemies, and they finally reach the main spire, that being the place where Severa is said to be holed up in. And thus do they prepare to enter. Though it's important for me to note, the way that this book is structured, short story, the way that it's structured is that you have Lucia who's retelling the accounts of the events to her Inquisitor. Lucia, in current times, is right now laid up on a bed having both her arms shattered. And Tor's looking at her like, what the fuck, you had 6 Adeptus Astartes with you, why are you like this? So she's telling him, yeah, things kinda went a little sideways, big man. But then that does beg the question, what on earth could break both her arms when there are 5 Adeptus Astartes they need to get through to get to her? It's at that point, ladies and gentlemen, when they enter the command dome that they realize that all is not well. And this is no political machinations. There are machinations going on, but they have a far more sinister nature. Taken from Warhammer 40k Vaults of Terror, Argent. Erastus is the first one into the command dome. He is still roaring, in High Gothic now, so I can understand fully what he is saying. For the glory of the Primarch Progenitor, he cries. For the glory of him on Earth! In isolation, those battle shouts may seem bereft of much purpose, a mere expression of aggression that any thug from an Underhive gang could match. But that is to misunderstand them. The volume generated by his augmenters is crushing, and it makes masonry crack and the air throb. The echoing, overlapping wall of sound is almost enough by itself to grind the will of our enemies into dust. The effect on his battle brothers is just as profound, though opposite. They are roused by their chaplain's exhortations to further feats of arms. such that they fight on through an aegis of audio shock, a rolling tide of sensory destruction. I am caught up in it myself, despite my status as an outsider. I find myself crying out loud with the chaplain, repeating the words that I recognize from the catechism where they occur. "For the Emperor!" I shout as I fight. "For the throne!" And yet, I am still appalled at what I witness. We have been misled, all of us, and did not understand the degradation that had been visited upon Florida. Until then, we had been fighting human normal troops, carrying standard weaponry, and our intelligence had told us the insurrection was of a political nature. I now see that this is a front, and that the extreme corruption has come to this world. Among the standard troops, there are now bloated and diseased things, their organs spilling from their flesh, their weapons fused to their limbs in webs of glistening cables. I wish to gag, but I'm surrounded by those who will not hesitate, who have made themselves impervious to horror. They tear into these new enemies, and I see their churning blades bite into unnatural flesh. That fortifies me, and I fight on, taking aim at creatures with lone, baleful eyes and swollen, sore-crusted stomachs. For the first time, we are tested. The command dome is crowded with these nightmare creations, and they come at us without fear. The air tastes like suppuration, and there are so many to slay. I stay close to Erastus, whose fortitude is undimmed. My last pistol is close to overheating now, and I reach for my combat knife, though I do not think it will serve well against these beings. The situation blinds me to the objective, and for a moment, I am fighting merely to avoid annihilation. But then, I see her for the first time. Nio Severa, recognizable from Ter's vidpics, cowering amongst the capering fiends she has unleashed. She is obese, her lips cracked, her cheeks flabby with sickness, so I see that she has reaped the rewards of her betrayal. Lines of black blood trace a pattern down her neck, and I do not wish to speculate where it has come from. Kranich is fighting hard, using his shield and power fists to great effect. His squad members work for one another, covering any momentary weaknesses of their brothers, carving into the horde of decay as a seamless unit. I see Pelas go down, dragged into a morass of fluids by 3 pus-green mutants, and the others respond instantly, hacking their way to his side. They are selfless, a band of soul brothers, trained from boyhood to keep one another on their feet and fighting. It is then that I know they will prevail, for the enemy has none of this. These opponents are perversions, individually formidable, but without cohesion. I keep firing, giving my last pistol a few more shots before it overloads, aiding the progress of Erastus towards Severia's unnatural bulk. The adjutant has become huge, far beyond mortal bounds, a slobbering mountain of rotting flesh. Her tongue, slick as oil, lashes from a slashed mouth filled with hooked teeth. Her body spills from the ruins of her old uniform, and tentacles lash out at the chaplain. He leaps up at her, swinging his Crozius, and drives a gouge through her swelling stomach. She screams at him, vomiting steaming bile, and he fights through it, his injunctions never ceasing. I move closer, aiming at the creature's head, trying to blind her, narrowly missing. Then, one of her tentacles connects, wrapping around the haft of the chaplain's power maul, grabbing it and wrenching it from his grip. The weapon flies free, burning through the corrupted blubber and making the fat boil. Without it, the chaplain is diminished. He fights on, tearing at the monster with his clenched fists. His brothers are fully occupied and do not see his peril. Only I witness them all land, skidding across the fluid-slick floor, and coming to rest amidst a slough of fizzing plasma. Sevilla can overwhelm her prey then, pushing him back, bereft of his weapon, Erastus will be overcome. I feel my last pistol reach its limit. I look over at the maul, crackling still in a corona of energy, and I know what I must do. I race towards it, discarding my last pistol, and reach for the crackling weapon. Lifting it nearly breaks my ribs. It is as heavy as a man, and my power armor strains to compensate. Disruptor charge snakes and lashes about me, and the thing shudders in my grip as if alive. I can barely hold on to it, let alone use it. But Erastus is now in mortal danger. "For the Emperor!" I cry, mimicking his strident roars, and throw myself at the creature. I swing the maul at its spine, two-handed, putting all my weight into the blow. This betrays my ignorance. The weight and power of it is far too much, and as it connects, I realize my error. My arms are smashed even through my armor, and the wave of pain makes me scream out aloud. The released disruptor charge explodes, throwing me clear of the impact and cracking open ceramite plate. I cannot release the maul. It remains in my grip, locked by ruined gauntlets amid gouts of flame. But the blow is enough. The creature reels, its back broken, and Erastus surges towards it, ripping the tentacles free of its twisted body. His battle brothers fight through the remains of the throng, subduing the attendant horrors to bring their fire to bear on the leader. I am in agony. I can feel my bones jutting through my flesh, my blood sloshing inside my armor, and I am lightheaded and nauseous. It takes all my strength merely to lift my head and stay conscious. I see Erastus punching out, driving Syria back. I see the rest of the squad level their bolt pistols, ready to destroy it. "No!" I cry, raising a trembling, ruined arm. "Preserve her!" Erastus looks at me. Erastus halts. He looks at me, then at the trembling mass of blubber before him. Kranich is poised to wade in closer, to rip its heart from its diseased chest. His battle brothers make no move to comply. Soon, they will kill it. "Hold," the chaplain commands, and they instantly freeze. Sevilla shrinks back, crippled but alive. Kranich moves to protest. "It cannot be suffered to," he begins. Erastus cuts him dead. He nods in my direction. I try to keep myself together, and I know that I will fail. I see them looking at me, bristling with barely contained battle fury. They want to kill it. They live to kill it. "Preserve her," I tell them, down on my knees in puddles of blood. Kranich looks at the chaplain. "She has the Crozius, Sergeant," Erastus tells him. That is the last thing I remember. Yeah, so it turns out, political, no. Unless you count the machinations of Eldritch Gods a political game. And that depends on your opinion about politics and murder. But yeah, Nurgle is here, and he is spreading the lovely gift of chaos and the blessings of the Grandfather to everyone who wants it, and more importantly, those who do not. And Lucia and the Imperial Fists end up finding that out the hard way, via tentacles and saw-infested crustaceans, which are actually poxwalkers. Always nice to see zombies in 40k, but I absolutely love this, because it shows something that a lot of people end up forgetting in 40k, and that's the fact that normal regular humans can do crazy shit too. You don't gotta be a space marine or a scion or something crazy. Now granted, yes, she is an Inquisitor, which actually helps her in this feat. When I made this short, I think it was about a year ago, give or take, a lot of people were very upset and claiming a Lamau woman moment. Because they were like, there's no way in hell that an Inquisitor could ever do this. This is impossible, this is bullshit, doesn't make a lick of sense. And I'm like, yeah, nah, y'all are missing something very fucking important. One, Inquisitor, so not a normal human being. Also, very important, power armor. Not to mention, it says that it weighs about a man. I guess like, if you think about like a soldier, like a built dude, I guess like, that's like what, 6 kg? 6 kg? Lamau. That's like 6 feet, 100 kilogram, right? 200 pounds, give or take. That's a lot of weight, yeah, but people have lifted that. Women too, like it's pretty alright. And again, power armor. Not to mention, when she ends up hitting the son of a bitch, she ends up shattering both her fucking arms. So, yeah, I think it makes 100% bit of sense. But then that further leads credence onto my point. People think that epic things can only be done by space marines, by awesome dudes. It's like, no. The majority of people fighting in the Imperium are PDF and Guard, which means that the majority of casualties inflicted on the enemies of the Imperium are done by PDF and Guard. Ergo means you have a random chance of a Guardsman killing a demon than a Space Marine actually, just given the nature of statistics. Now granted, the Guardsman is probably dead and so is the whole entire fucking company, so the attrition rate is pretty bad, but they do technically kill more. Now is that logic kind of fucky? Absolutely. Doesn't make a lick of sense. A little bit, but not enough so you can get down to the center of that yummy yummy goodness. But the fact of the matter is thus. Seeing normal human beings doing crazy shit is absolutely amazing. Because we have accounts time and time again of Space Marines looking at normal human beings being like, holy shit, you did that? Be they both Chaos and Loyalists alike. Whether it's the Cadians surprising the hell out of the Khorne Berserkers, or whether it's normal Guardsmen showing the Space Marines that yeah, the Guard don't break either. Regardless of who or what it is. It's always one of my favorite genres, I guess you could say, of moments in 40k. And it goes to show something very important. Space Marines have only been around for about a fourth of humanity's existence in this galaxy. 10,000 out of the 40,000 odd years. That other 30,000, it was regular human beings being badass. Even in our modern day, regular human beings continue to show that yeah, they got skills, they got games, do not fuck with them. I mean, there are unbelievable moments in our own history that make us question if it's really real. So, that's the one point I wanted to make. Space Marine, very good. But that's one point I wanted to make. Human beings doing crazy shit. Awesome. The second thing though I want to talk about is Mr. Erastus. That being the Chaplain. Chaplains do not get nearly enough love. Truth be told, all of the major command squad elements do not get nearly enough love as they should. But I feel like Chaplains are an extra special thing here. Now why am I mentioning the Chaplain? Because we're talking about the Crozius. The Crozius Arcanum, aka the Magic Cross, because that's literally what it means in High Gothic, aka 40k Space Latin. The Crozius Arcanum is the symbol of the Chaplain's office. Not only that, but also the symbol of the chaplaincy itself, with in many cases, the particular head of the Crozius being ornated in resemblance to the chapter, with examples of the Iron Hands using cogs, Salamanders using Drake's heads as well as hammers, and then everyone's favorite Orton Cassius, Massive Sanctity of the Ultramarines, using a Tyranid head, cause bonk bonk buggy boy. Croziuses are super important, but they're only important if you realize what a chaplain is. Lucia says it herself. To a normal person, it just sounds like rants and rages. But if you really get into the meat of it, what this actually is the personification of the spiritual purity of the Space Marine. Not in the same way the Imperium does it, because as Space Marines don't really believe in the whole Imperial Creed, at least most of them don't, and the Imperial Fists most definitely do not. That's the realm of the Black Templars. But holding up a Crozius Arcanum is a symbol of what a chaplain is. When that Crozius Arcanum is held up high, it is a symbol of not only what the chaplain is, but what the chaplain stands for. The incorruptibility of the Imperium of Man. The spirit of humanity made manifest. That is what a chaplain truly is. And thus, the Crozius being the symbol makes it incredibly important. With many oftentimes these things being absolute relics, passed down from generation to generation. This is a particular case for the Salamanders, because, well, artisans crafting artisanal stuff, but every single chapter reveres these. Because when you have a symbol that is the symbol of your literal spiritual purity, yeah, you're gonna want to keep that shit up safe. But to truly understand what a chaplain is, let's say it straight from the horse's mouth. Taken from Warhammer 40k, Codex Space Marines 10th edition. Chaplains are the spiritual leaders of the Adeptus Astartes. They are awe-inspiring warrior priests who administer rites, preserve rituals, and perform ancient ceremonies of initiation, vindication, and redemption that are as important to the chapter as its role of honor or its skill of arms. Even for other Space Marines, Chaplains are daunting figures to behold. Their power armor is jet black and adorned with icons of battle and tokens of ritual and mystery. Their skull helms and death masks that evoke their stern visage of the immortal emperor. Every aspect of a chaplain's garb serves to remind all who gaze upon him of mortality's impermanence, and thus the importance of preserving the immortal soul. Beneath this stern cladding is a man no less grim of aspect and manner. Chaplains are notorious strict individuals. They are responsible for the spiritual well-being of their battle brothers, and renowned for their unwavering sense of duty. Through tenet, dogma, and catechism, they armor their brothers against their heresy and false pride, instilling the wisdom of both Primarch and Emperor, and those who are their most trusted servants. Every company has its own chaplain. He acts as a leader in both devotions and combat, and is second only to the captain in rank. A chapter's chaplains are also the keepers of the Reclusium, a hallowed place overseen by the greatest and most veteran of their number, the Master of Sanctity. The Reclusium is a fortress monastery's central shrine, where prayers and meditations are conducted. It is a place of great spiritual reverence, where the chapter's battle standards hang from hallowed walls, and the very stones echo with remembrance. Here are kept the chapter's most holy relics, fragments of armor, banners from times of legend, and the raiments of ancient luminaries who have long passed beyond mortal service. However, the chaplains teach that attending a formal chapel is not necessary for a Space Marine's spiritual health. The fires of battle serve as their places of worship, the roar of bolters and chain blades their prayers, and the righteous slaughter of their foes their truest offering. The first chaplains were founded centuries before the development of the Imperial Cult, or the Adeptus Ministorum, and with the lone exception of the Black Templars, Space Marines have never acknowledged the doctrines or religious supremacy of the Ecclesiarchy. Space Marine chaplains care little for the ravings of Ecclesiarchy's priests and ignore the dictates of the Imperial Cult in favor of their own traditions. While the Adeptus Ministorum has extended its influence throughout the galaxy, the Adeptus Astartes remain stubbornly independent in their spiritual practices as ever. When war calls, a chaplain leads from the fore, rejoicing in the righteous slaughter of his enemies, all while rendering thunderous praise to the beloved Emperor of mankind and his Primarch. He chants the liturgies of battle with every breath, punctuating his oration with strikes from his Crozius Arcanum. Enemies are flung broken from his path. His blows crack the heaviest armor, pulverize skulls, and smash shattered weapons from nerveless hands. To his victims, the chaplain is a ghoulish and terrifying avatar of implacable might of the Imperium. Meanwhile, through example and devotion, the chaplain exhorts his fellow battle brothers to fight harder, to stand firm, and to win victory, no matter the cost. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we now know what a chaplain truly is. Now some of you may ask, okay Brad, we kind of already knew what a chaplain is, why mention it again? Because to know the importance of the Crozius Arcanum, you need to know the importance of a chaplain. A chaplain is the literal definition of symbolism of a Space Marine chapter spirit. The chaplain is the spirit. It is that fire in battle, the roaring rage of words. It is the prayers, the litanies, the catechisms. Space Marine chaplains are not just spiritual figureheads, they're not just battle priests, they're not just roaring dudes to give you a good pump. They are the sheer definition of the spirit of the chapter, and the Crozius Arcanum is the literal symbol of that in its most purest of form. Indeed, for many Space Marines, simply seeing the ornate golden head of the Crozius Arcanum wielded by the grim skull-faced mask of a chaplain is enough to give them the final bit that they need to sell their souls, lives, and everything they hold dear to them in the service of the glory of the God Emperor of all mankind. In short, Croziuses are very fucking important. So, even more so they're a relic. So then, how the hell is it that Lucia managed to get one of her own? Taken from Warhammer 40k Vaults of Terror, Argent. It takes 3 weeks to subdue the remains of the insurrection. The Imperial Fists linger in theater longer than originally intended, once the scale of corruption is revealed. Many of the spires are destroyed wholesale, and many millions of survivors are deported in void haulers, ready either for slaughter or mind-wiping. Strategos estimate it will take months to purge the world, and that the Ministorum will be required to maintain scrutiny for decades after that. But it has been retained, and its forges and manufactura remain ready for use by the holy Imperium of Man. I take much satisfaction in that. Once my arms heal, I begin the process of regaining strength. I take up my duties as fast as I am able. Tor does not visit me again, for he is detained with many cares. YX tells me that Severus' testimony was instrumental in the recapture of the industrial zones north of the spires, and that gladdens my soul. Near the end, I have the visitor I have been expecting. He does not have much time, so his presence honors me. When Erastus walks into the training chambers, in the Dravanga command post, he seems even more gigantic than before. His arm is a little more worn, his angular face carrying an extra scar, but the energy in his movements is undiminished. "Interrogator," he says, bowing. "I would have come sooner, but there were many calls on us." I bow in return. "It is good to see you, Lord Chaplain," I say. I noticed then that he carries his power maul, the thing he called a Crozius. It looks different to me. Smaller, as if cut down somehow. Perhaps I damaged it. I know how much the warriors of the Adeptus Astartes venerate their weapons, and so the thought troubles me. "This is Argent," Erastus says, hefting the heavy piece as if it weighs nothing. "It has been in the chapter for 1,000 years. For an outsider to handle it, even to touch it, earns the wrath of us all." He is still severe. Perhaps he knows no other way to be. "I did not know," I say, wondering why he has come to tell me this. "We protect what is precious to us," he says, "but we also understand what is truly significant. Take it and observe what has been changed." I receive them all again, and then see truly it has been heavily adapted. It is shorter, lighter, its power unit trunked, and the bone casing modified. Even then I struggle to hold it steady, and my armor-encased arms ache. "Why have you done this?" I ask. "Because it is yours now," he says. I cannot believe it. I move to give the weapon back, unable to accept such a gift. "If you spurn the offer," Erastus warns me, "it will be a second insult, one I will not overlook." I look down at the Crozius. The detail on its shaft is incredible. It is a thing of beauty, as well as power. The gesture overwhelms me, and I do not have the words for it. "You do me too much honor," I say at last, and it seems like a weak response. "I have only just started," he says, standing back and regarding me critically. "You hold it as if it were a snake. Grip the handle loosely. I will show you how to bear it without breaking your bones." It is then that I know why he has come. He will instruct me on how to wield it, and I understand then that it will henceforth become my own weapon, the one I shall carry in preference to all others. It will hurt. I will damage the healing process by doing this. Tor will be angry, for he desires me back in the service within days. None of that matters. I do as I am bid, then look to the chaplain. I do not know if such a thing has ever been done before. My soul fills with joy, and I determine to make myself equal to the gesture. Perhaps that will be my purpose now, to live up to this deed, to ensure that Argent is used as it ought to be used, for the glory of him on earth. That would be a fine ambition, I think, one worthy of my high calling. "Show me," I say, hungry for the knowledge. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, in the end, an Imperial Fist gives a relic Crozius to this interrogator. And like she said, she doesn't know if this has happened before, but we actually know that it has. The Salamanders in particular are rather fond of gift giving like that because, well, they're muscle-crafted artisan and they got that shit to spare. But a Crozius Arcanum being gifted from a chaplain to a regular human being, that may be a first. Now, ladies and gents, I could go on and on and on and on and on and carry on, but I'm just going to get straight to the point. And the point is this. Most people think, oh, the Chaplain gave her the Crozius because she saved his life. That is incorrect. Space Marines, especially Chaplains, do not care about their lives nearly as much as that. Not to mention to give away a sacred relic that has been in the chat for 1,000 years because of your own life? That, yeah, no, not gonna happen. Instead, however, I want to point out to something that again I love seeing. That is when Space Marine acknowledge their chapter traits in another person. Now what do I mean by that? Lucia saw the power maul. Lucia knew that she could not use it properly. Granted, I don't think she would have broken all her arms, but she knew she would have gotten hurt. That didn't matter. What matters was saving the Chaplain and killing the beast, or preserving it in her case, winning the fight. Duty mattered above all. And even when she had both her arms broken in a pool of her own blood, her duty, the mission came first, and she was willing to argue with the Adeptus Astartes over it. In that moment, she showed not only Erastus but all the Space Marines present that what she truly desired, what she truly valued above everything else, was duty. Duty eternal. And that, ladies and gentlemen, speaks to an Imperial Fist on a truly goddamn spiritual level. People often give the Imperial Fist shit because, oh, Lamau yellow boys, but the Imperial Fists are very underrated in my opinion. They are the only first founding chapter to be annihilated twice, both times, in service to the Imperium. Whilst every Space Marine has bled for the Imperium Fists are the only chapter that can say they've bled everything for the Imperium. They've given literally everything and nothing more. They value duty above all else. These are the scions of the 7th Legion, the sons of the Praetorian, the defenders of the Sol system. Thus, they value duty. Thus, it is no small wonder why they hold duty so high in their own regimen of honors. And in that moment, Interrogator Lucia Spinoza showed that to her, duty is above all, doing what is right, doing what the Emperor commands. And sure, Erastus probably did want to say thanks, for saving my life, but I believe that he found someone he could trust, Argent too. So it was a 2-for-1 deal, because he would not gift a relic of the chapter to someone who would dishonor it. He saw in her fire, he saw in her determination, he saw in her duty until death. And to an Imperial Fist, that is worthy of respect. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for watching. Let me know down below, what do you guys think? Do you love this story? Do you hate this story? Do you think it's bullshit? Do you not think it's bullshit? And do you have any other stories about Space Marines being chummy with mortal men? Love to hear your thoughts down below. But ladies and gents, I want to say a massive thank you to you guys for watching, but even more massive thank you to my awesome members and Patreons. Shout out to my Lieutenant tier members, Mr. Eddie V3 and Miss Majora of the Void. Shout out to my Sergeant tier members, Mr. Damiak, Mr. Andy McGee, Mr. Bowen, Mr. Sean IRL7, Mr. Matthew Merrill, Mr. Sergeant Cossack, 68W173D, and Mr. That Guy. Shout out to my corporate tier members, Mr. Tremail the Math Kitty, Lord Rosarius, Tech Priest Toaster, Mr. Bowen, Shauna Smithers, The Gentle Salamander, The Wench of Warhammer, Major Doshinek, Edward King, and Mr. Overanalyze This. And finally, but absolutely not least, shout out to my private tier members, Mr. Thomas Moslons, Mr. Ivan_SBW, Mr. Monkey Man, Mr. Michael Aeda, Mr. Diego Castro, Mr. Fortis Unum, Mr. CMD Nay, Mr. Eric Massaro, Mr. Dar Marek, Mr. Ken_Sakura333, Mr. Adrian Von Furen, Mr. Morally Bankrupt, Mr. Matthew Peter, Mr. Joshly 1320, Mr. Adrex X1, Mr. Ethan Elam U71, Mr. Kiri Khan, Mr. Malpace-XB1XE, and Mr. Robert Makorovich. Thank you, I love you, I appreciate you. Some other memberships, you get a bunch of awesome benefits behind the scenes stuff, early access to these videos, member only content, but not to mention you get to help out your boy, but remember, this will always be free. So whether you give your boy $1 or not, I will love you just the same. Mwah! But ladies and gentlemen, I've been the General Bradley 101. You've been beautiful, awesome, and amazing people. Thank you so very much for watching. You almost should say hello there, boys and girls, and I will catch y'all next time. Dismiss, Rangers. the lemon is a mighty fruit.